Alright, good morning everyone. This is a very strange video I'm going to be making here. And I think that you can start calling me the Waffle King because I am a flip-flopper all of a sudden. Maybe. We'll see. I'm very up in the air on all my car stuff right now. And this is an update on my car shopping stuff. So my previous videos I've been making were how I wanted to buy a McLaren 600LT and then comparing them to other sports cars that are in the similar category, which would be the Porsche GT3 RS, the Ferrari 488, the Lamborghini Huracan, etc. Oh, sorry, I left out the ZR1 and the GTR Nismo. So I had originally was pretty dead set on the McLaren 600LT, and then recently kind of changed my mind and decided I was going completely opposite of what I had been saying in my previous videos, which was probably the worst choice I thought was the Porsche, and I actually changed my mind and I wanted a GT3 RS, and I had already then I thought I was going to get a used one so I could save a lot of money, get the 2016, which is the 991.1, and then I changed my mind again because I got a crazy good deal offered to me for a 991.2, which is the 2019 brand spanking new, amazing colors. Like, I'm usually not super picky about colors, but when I saw this, it was all black with lizard green, I guess you'd call it like a decal on the edge of the rims on the outer circle, and then the interior was all black with the lizard green contrast, and I was just, oh man, it was just screaming my name. So as some people would say, the car spoke to me, and I just knew that was what I wanted, but I couldn't afford it really. And then when they dropped, the dealership did something for me, I could. All this stuff happened. I had a done deal, but I was using a company. I'm going to talk about Amazon leasing in another video, but I was using a company called Amazon Leasing, and I was going to lease it. Before you say, oh, you're an idiot, don't lease a Porsche GT3 RS, there's a big misconception out there that when you lease a car that you have to turn the car in at the end of the lease term. Anyone that would ever lease a GT3 RS would never turn the car in at the end. I mean, you would just be throwing away thousands and thousands of dollars because they don't depreciate. So you don't turn the car in at the end. You either keep the car, you pay it off, you refinance it, or you sell it. You don't turn the car in and throw money in the trash can. So anyway, so moving forward, Amazon Leasing approved me on the car. Everything was good to go, like literally good to go. Come pick up the car tomorrow, all that stuff. I was all set, and the dealership changed their mind, said they don't want to work with Amazon Leasing, and now they're waffling too. They're bigger waffle kings than I was saying I am. They're saying that maybe by the end of the week they'll get upper management to approve using Amazon Leasing, but they had never done a deal with Amazon Leasing, and they're worried about Amazon Leasing having their name on the contract for the sale of the car instead of my name. And then Amazon Leasing said that they would put my name as a co-signer basically, so that it still has my name, and blah 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 blah. It's BS, right? So that being said, I was getting sick and tired of the dealership messing with me, and I decided, well, I need to go. I had only driven a GT3 RS. I did not drive a Ferrari. I did not drive a Lamborghini. Didn't drive a McLaren. I had just kind of decided that I thought the Porsche was the right one for me because it was a little bit less expensive, and it wasn't as flashy. So fast forward to Saturday when they started telling me that the deal wasn't over and all this other stuff. I decided I need to go drive the other cars now that this might be a sign that I was being not being smart enough, and I need to go drive these other cars. So I drove a Ferrari 488 coupe on Saturday, and man, oh man, if you asked me which of the four cars was the one I would least likely buy before I drove any of them, that would by far be the one I wouldn't buy. But holy crap, that thing blew my mind. I was so impressed by the 488, the sound of the motor and the turbos. It's like they were able to separate the motor sound from the turbo sound, so you're not just hearing a muffled, F1 inspired V8. You're hearing like the F1 inspired V8 and the turbos like separate from each other, and they just were working in harmony so perfectly. The sounds were amazing, and it pulled so freaking hard. my God. And it was the best test drive I've ever been on in my whole life. It was the best shopping experience I've ever been in my whole life. The dealership, which is San Diego, Ferrari of San Diego, I believe is what they're called. Best dealership I've ever been to in my entire life. The way they treated me and the entire experience. If you ever are looking for a Ferrari, I highly recommend going over there and talking to Scott. He's a great guy. Call and just ask for Scott. He knows his cars. He drives them. He'll take you on, if you can prove that you're a real buyer, he'll take you on probably the best test drive you've ever been on in your life. Can't recommend them more. Anyway, so right now, we're 2 days later, it's Monday. So that was Saturday, I drove the Ferrari, and I'm on my way down to a dealership in San Diego called Agara La Jolla, which they sell McLaren, Lamborghini, and Bugatti, and Rolls-Royce, and I think a couple other things. So that's where I'm headed, and I will try to take a quick video when I roll up there, which will probably be in about 20 minutes from right now. I'll cut this video off of that right in a minute here, and then I'll try to kind of record a little bit cruising up in the dealership. But I'm probably not gonna have I don't really like being the guy with the camera out, you know, in their face while we're doing that whole experience. It makes me not, I just think it doesn't really make it seem like I'm a serious buyer, and I am a serious buyer, and I'm already approved for a car. So I don't want them to think that I'm just doing this for YouTube cred or whatever you want to call it. So sorry, I'm turning here, but that's kind of the story. I'm gonna keep it professional. I'm not just gonna be taking pictures and have my phone out the whole time. I'm gonna stick to, I want to have my mind on the cars. So, but I will make another video after and turn that all into one big video with kind of updates of where my mind is and on the 600LT and the Huracan that I drive. So anyway, till then. So this is Agara Coach La Jolla. Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, Rolls-Royce, and I think just recently McLaren is added. There's a sign on the other side of the building. So this is the side of the building, and right behind me are some cool cars too. And there's some stuff I can kind of show you through the window, but I don't want to be like some DB rolling up with my phone in my hand recording everything, so I'm probably gonna turn off pretty quick. So let's go. Some cool stuff. Lotus, some old Porsches, really old Porsches. Old F1 car, I think is what that is. I don't know. Some old motorcycles. This is, it says Grand Prix Classics. There's a Ferrari across the street. And yeah. Just finished the test drive. It was gnarly. Whew. Well, I have finished test driving a McLaren 600LT, which I feel like is a cool life goal accomplished. And I really liked it a lot, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. So that, I'm really glad I drove it. And would I want to get one at some point in the future? Yeah, I think I would. But today I think the answer is no. I still think it's a pretty well, even though it's really expensive, I think that it's still worth the money. And I guess I'll just maybe talk about the things I liked about it and the things I didn't like about it. So the things I liked about it would be the exhaust being so close to your head there, with the rear tips and the back pops, like whatever you want to call them, the backfire pops, were just, the exhaust and the backfiring and everything just sounded so amazing. It's such a cool looking exhaust system. It's such a cool looking car. It's it's like technologically cool or modern versus like maybe where a Ferrari or Lamborghini is more artsy, I would say. I'm not sure if that's really the right way to say it, but the McLaren just seems like it's more functionally exotic, where the Ferrari and Lamborghini are maybe more artistic exotic. But it did pull really hard. It was extremely fast. The interior, though, on the McLaren actually was very artistic. It was a really great looking interior. Everything just tied together so well. The vertical doors were really nice. They were better than I thought they would be. The way that getting in and out was actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. The seats were great, and the steering wheel felt really good. And so yeah, it was a great car. And there's probably a lot of other things I liked about it. Maybe things that were steering me away though are the turbo lag was definitely a lot more than I was expecting, and I'm sure there's gonna be some, if anyone ever watches this and says I'm an idiot for even saying that, you're probably right, but it didn't seem like the turbos were kicking very hard until more around 4,000 RPM. And yeah, the red line's pretty high in the car, but it's a track car, and it feels like a track car, and that's good. And the car I still like the most is the GT3 RS, which is also a track car, and you do have to wind up the motor a little bit more to get it going, but it's just a different feel. I don't know. I do like the feel, the seating in the Porsche GT3 RS, Porsche GT3 RS. I like the seats better. I like the seating position better. I like the, I guess people call it a greenhouse. I like the greenhouse of the GT3 RS, just the overall visibility and the window placement and how well you can see everything. I like it a little bit better on the Porsche, which is kind of funny because originally it was maybe my first complaint of the GT3 RS was how low the dashboard seems really low, and the steering wheel seems really low, and the instrument panel seems really low, and it's all kind of like you're bending over and looking down to look at everything, and I thought that was a little bit weird, but after being in the McLaren, I do like it a little bit better. I feel like it's a little safer. And then comparing it to the Ferrari 488 I just drove the other day, the Ferrari definitely the motor felt better. It felt like it was pulling a lot harder for everyday driving. I'm sure I'm not talking about on the track. I wasn't on a track. I'm just we're driving, you know, around town and stuff like that, and on some highways and things like that. So the Ferrari just felt like it pulled way harder, and I think the Ferrari's a little bit busy on the interior, but it's nice. Everything has its pros and cons. Before I even forget to say this, the fourth car that I haven't mentioned that I looked at was the Lamborghini Huracan 580, and I probably wasn't going to get a test drive in one because the one that they had at the dealership was very parked in. They would have had to move literally a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ and a Lamborghini Aventador SV just to get to the Huracan 580 that they had. And it was a really nice 580. But they said, why don't you sit in it and see what you think? And I sat in it, and within 10 seconds I knew that there was no way in hell I would ever want that car. It felt terrible. The visibility was the worst visibility I've ever had in a car. And I'm not talking about looking at your rear view mirror. I'm talking about the windshield. It was ridiculous. And I've had some people tell me that Lamborghinis are for shorter people, and I'm 6 foot, so I'm not that tall. But I've had people say that the visibility is bad for people that are taller. And I thought that was just maybe like a salesman technique to try to talk me out of like the Ferrari guy told me that. And he was absolutely right. It is not for someone my height. Or maybe it's not for anyone at all. I don't know. It did not feel good. I couldn't see anything. So I immediately got out. Just grabbing the door handle on the Lamborghini Huracan, it felt cheap. The first thing I thought was, oh man, their margins must be huge on how much it costs to build this versus how much they sell it for. They make it look really, my first impression was they must make it look really pretty and then cheap out on a lot of the materials. And they make it look cool, but it's cheaped out. That's what it felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, but that was my impression of it. So going back, the McLaren was still awesome, but it's also a lot of money, and I know the insurance is going to be a lot more, and the GT3 RS just like, I sat in it and I was just like, man, this just feels right. And the McLaren felt good, it just didn't feel as good. So that's kind of what it's all coming down to, is a lot of little things. Another really big factor is resale value. You know, the guy at the McLaren dealership, my sales guy, was telling me that he just brought in a 675LT, very rare car, and he's going to be selling it for about $270. The original sticker on the car was $400. It lost that much value in, I think, only 3 years is what it was. So he was actually telling me, don't think about, when you're shopping for all these cars, don't think about the resale value. It's not an investment, it's an experience and things like that. And I disagree with him. I think that for some people, me, the resale value of the car is important, which is I'm driving a Ford F-150 Raptor right now. Great example of good resale value. I just sold my Nissan GTR. Great example of good resale value. And owning cars that have good resale value like this, it's a very nice feeling. I've also owned cars where they didn't have good resale value, and that is not a good feeling. And so if I'm going to be spending all this money, I want to start a path of getting some cars that are going to hold their value, so that 3 years from now, when I'm looking at the next car, I'm not going to have $0. I'm not going to be, I didn't spend $100,000 something in three years that went to nothing. It's not worth anything anymore. I don't want to do that, because I don't make enough money to be able to do that. Some people do, and they can just throw money around and buy as many cars as they want. And this is my first high-end car like this, and I can barely afford it. So I don't want to do that. The GT3 RS is going to hold its value. The cheapest one you can find anywhere for sale online is $250,000, and I'm paying well under that for the one I'm getting with good options. So that's a good deal, and it's going to hold its value. And 3 years from now, when I'm ready for my next car, I'm going to have a bunch of equity to be able to afford a better next car. Maybe I can get a GT2 RS on my next car because I bought the GT3 RS. And that's what's starting to really matter to me. It might be the biggest factor of everything. I actually had kind of convinced myself that maybe the 600LT would hold its value, but after that sales guy just told me how bad the 675LT is doing, I'm not so sure I'm right thinking the 600LT will hold. So yeah, the GT3 RS is, I think it's the right car for me for today and for right now in this point in my life, and maybe the 600LT will be a car for me in 3 years or 2 years or 4 years, or maybe whatever replaces a 600LT, or maybe a Ferrari, or maybe a GT2 RS. But I'm gonna keep going after the GT3 RS I was working on, and I just talked to the dealership, and they said they're gonna call me right back. So hopefully I hear some good news today. That's pretty much the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoy the information I'm bringing you, kind of putting you in the seat of someone shopping for an exotic car, which is a really, really weird place to be, something I never expected I would be doing. Anyway, have a good day, guys, and subscribe and like the video if you liked it.